Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Britain looks for a way out of Afghanistan. Benjamin Netanyahu visits Obama. And unrest in Yemen. Mosaic World News from the Middle East begins now.
قال وزير الدفاع البريطاني ليام فوكس إنه تقرر سحب القوات البريطانية.
British Defense Minister Liam Fox said that the decision has been made to withdraw British forces from Sangin in southern Afghanistan. Fox gave a speech in the House of Commons in which he said that American forces will take over security responsibilities in the area in accordance with the NATO redeployment plan. It is worth mentioning that Sangin is located in Kandahar, which is a stronghold for Taliban fighters.
British soldiers fire another bullet against an enemy that cannot be defeated. It seems that the way out of this war is still ambiguous. About 100 British soldiers were killed in Sangin alone. This number constitutes 1/3 of British forces that have been killed in Afghanistan since 2001. However, British observers confirm that handing over security responsibilities to the Americans is not due to the Taliban's fierce fighting.
The Taliban will, of course, paint it as a victory.
The Taliban will, of course, paint it as a victory. But this is not true. It is a well-studied redeployment plan. The Americans know very well that our soldiers courageously fought in Sangin.
Sangin is located in the province of Helmand, where Afghan government forces, backed by foreign forces, have never stopped fighting the Taliban. This area is active in its fighting against the Taliban. In addition, political observers say that it is the country's center for opium production. This soldier is the latest casualty in Sangin, and he was buried in Britain last Tuesday. His father wonders about the usefulness of fighting there. British Defense Minister Liam Fox is supposed to answer this question in his speech at the House of Commons. Many voices are becoming more vocal in their quest for an exit from this long war. Abdel Rahim Al-Farisi, BBC.
لقاء أعاد المياه إلى مجاريها ذلك الذي جمع في البيت الأبيض الرئيس الأمريكي باراك أوباما برئيس
U.S.-Israeli relations are back to normal. U.S. President Barack Obama met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. On top of Netanyahu's agenda were a number of issues, notably the Iranian nuclear program, the settlements, and the so-called Israeli national security. Netanyahu said that his country is ready to move forward with direct talks before the settlement freeze expires next September, but doubted that the talks will include any of the final status issues. Our correspondent Emil Baroudi reports.
من واشنطن إيميل بارودي.
وصول بنيامين نتنياهو إلى البيت الأبيض هذه المرة.
This time, the arrival of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House was different than previous visits. The US President has agreed to allow full media coverage of the meeting and jointly answered questions with the Israeli Prime Minister, who said that his country agrees to hold direct talks with the Palestinians.
مع الفلسطينيين.
I think with the help of President Obama, President Abbas and I must move forward with the direct talks toward a political settlement that will lead to peace, security, and prosperity.
موقف يمكن للرئيس الأمريكي تسويقه الآن لدى الدول العربية.
This new Israeli position can be seized upon by the US President, whose meeting with the Saudi monarch last week was adjourned without any notable announcements. By hosting Netanyahu at his Oval Office, Obama was able to diffuse some of the criticism levied against him by a number of Republican candidates running in the midterm elections this fall. Some Republicans said that Obama's remarks over Israel's need for nuclear weapons pose a threat to Israel's national security.
حاجة إسرائيل للأسلحة النووية.
We strongly believe
belief. We strongly believe that given its size, its history, the region that it's in, and the threats that are leveled against us, against it, that Israel has unique security requirements.
The Obama-Netanyahu meeting was very warm, especially considering that their relations have recently been strained over the settlement issue, which both leaders have dismissed.
The previous meeting was not as warm as wished for by many. This is sort of a make-up meeting, just like a family feud in which the family gets back together.
The
American side hopes that the settlement issue will be resolved as the peace talks move forward. The position which the Israeli Prime Minister is currently taking doesn't allow him to offer concessions.
في هذا الملف حرارة الاستقبال الذي لقاه نتنياهو ربما كانت وراء استنفار المعارضين.
The warm reception held from Netanyahu may have triggered some of his critics to come out, a number that could have been larger if it wasn't for the soaring temperature outside the conference hall.
إلى مستوى خجول للغاية.
Emil Baroudi, Dubai TV, Washington.
The Iranian nuclear program was strongly present during the Obama-Netanyahu meeting. The U.S. president said that his country is committed to continuing its pressure on Tehran in order to meet its international obligations and stop what he referred to as provocative practices that pose threats to its neighbors and the international community. The Israeli Prime Minister renewed calls for imposing tougher sanctions on Iran.
U.S. President Barack Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu want direct talks soon on a Middle East peace treaty. Israel says the current proximity talks are wasting time. But Palestinians insist that the size, shape, and sovereignty of their state be clear. Obama's endorsement of negotiating a final peace settlement at yesterday's White House summit with Netanyahu was a sign that moving swiftly to direct negotiations is vital to keeping the process alive.
I think the Israeli government, working through layers of various governmental entities and jurisdictions, have shown restraint over the last several months that I think has been conducive to the prospects of us getting into direct talks. My hope is that once direct talks have begun, well before the moratorium has expired, that will create a climate in which everybody feels a greater investment in success. Not every action by one party or the other is taken as a reason for not engaging in talks. So there ends up being more room created by more trust. I want to just make sure that we sustain that over the next several weeks.
The President and I discussed concrete steps that could be done now, the coming days and the coming weeks, to move the peace process further along in a very robust way. This is what we focused our conversation on. And when I say the next few weeks, that's what I mean. The President means that too.
The Israeli leader met U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates and is also due to meet UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and address U.S. Jewish leaders in New York. The Palestinians are waiting to hear next week from U.S. envoy George Mitchell on what happened during Obama's talks with Netanyahu and what concrete steps are in the works to build confidence sufficient to launch direct talks. Netanyahu told U.S. television that he's ready to order additional easing of movements for the Palestinians in the West Bank, but ducked a question about whether he would extend the freeze on settlement building. Chief Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat said the key to direct talks is in the hands of the Israeli Prime Minister. He said that the minute Netanyahu announces a total settlement freeze, final status talks could resume from where they left off in December 2008. A Polish court has agreed to extradite a suspected Israeli spy to Germany in connection with the murder of a Hamas leader in Dubai. Polish authorities detained a man using the name Yuri Brodsky at the Warsaw airport a month ago. Germany has earlier issued a European arrest warrant for the person responsible for fraudulently obtaining a German passport. The document is believed to have been used by a member of a hit squad that assassinated Hamas leader Mahmoud al-Mabhouh in a hotel room in January on behalf of Israel. The Israeli military has indicted one of its soldiers for manslaughter in the death of 2 Palestinians during the war on the Gaza Strip last year. The war had brought worldwide condemnation as Israel used disproportionate force during the war. It was the most serious charge against an Israeli soldier for actions carried out during the 3-week offensive. The tribunal said the decision was based on evidence that the soldier, who's serving as a designated marksman, deliberately targeted an individual walking with a group of people waving a white flag. According to family accounts, a group of 28 civilians walked towards an Israeli army tank waving 2 white flags as they obeyed orders by the army to head to the center of town. As the group crouched down and awaited instructions from the army tank, the group was fired upon and the mother and daughter dropped dead as a result of the heavy fire. At least 3 Iraqis were killed and 6 others wounded when bombs exploded at 5 houses in the capital, Baghdad. 3 of the homes belonged to police officers in the city's western outskirts. Police said the attackers struck in the pre-dawn hours in Abu Ghraib and targeted an ambulance driver, in addition to the policemen planting bombs inside and around their homes. They also said relatives of the ambulance driver and one of the police officers were killed, along with a person in a home near one of the bomb sites. Separately, police shot at a suicide car bomber who tried to pass a security checkpoint in the Ghazaliya district of western Baghdad, and the car exploded, wounding 3 soldiers and a policeman.
Washington summits can raise expectations for future peace agreements. Residents of the settlement of Efrat expressed mixed views on whether Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in an agreement accepted by both sides.
The fact is that everything that we have done here in the area has benefited our neighbours. We have direct contacts with villages next door. We supply them with medical assistance. We give them financial assistance. We provide them with educational assistance. All these things are positive. So if we have a positive partner, the future for all people living in this area, the place is big enough for all of us.
There is going to be 2 nations. They must recognize us and we must recognize them.
Since the Oslo agreements, no Arabs living in Judea and Samaria are under the control of the Israelis. They're all under the control of the Palestinian terrorist authority. And the discrimination is exactly not against them, because they flourish, they live, they do whatever they want, they build how much they want. The discrimination is against the Jews who are being told that we are not allowed to build in our homeland.
Well, 10 days after leaving home, the Shalit family and thousands of supporters today continued their protest march aimed at pressing the government to increase its efforts to secure the release of Gilad Shalit. Aaron Viner reports.
Day 9 of the Shalit family march began with an estimated 1,500 people in Tel Aviv early this morning, whose number swelled to at least 4,000 by the time they reached Route 1 to Jerusalem. Despite compassion for the Shalit's cause, public patience was sorely tested from 7:30 to 10:30 this morning when the central highway was closed to accommodate the marchers. En route to Thursday's ultimate destination of the Prime Minister's official residence in the capital, rallies on behalf of Israel's captive soldier Gilad Shalit were today held at Beit Dagan's public library and Ramlah's Gan Hanassi, or Presidential Park.
We want Gilad Shalit back home. We love the family, we support the family, and we're marching with everyone. And please, everyone that can, come. Just come and show the people that we have the power.
The family will spend the night at the Central Israel kibbutz Givat Brenner before resuming their trek tomorrow. More than 8,000 people gathered on the Gaza border for last night's hour-long performance on behalf of Gilad Shalit by the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra and folk rock singer Shlomo Artzi. Renowned conductor Zubin Mehta, who presented an original musical score entitled A Cry to the World, commented that each note was meant for Gilad and that he very much hopes that the one person who was prevented from hearing the performance would soon be informed of the event.
We want to think of Gilad Shalit today, who is suffering for 4 years without visitation, and we want to do something that visitation will be allowed and that negotiations will be rapider, and this movement and these thousands of people coming here today will also push our government to do something positive.
Meanwhile, an armored corps soldier injured during the same cross-border raid by Palestinian terrorists who abducted Shalit and killed 2 other IDF officers has broken his silence for the first time. Roi Amitai told reporters during yesterday's march for his abducted comrade that the incident, about which he has previously never spoken, hurts without limit. This is Erin Viner for IBA News.
Two people were killed and 9 others were injured when security forces in the southern Yemen city of Aden dispersed a demonstration organised by what is known as the Southern Movement. The demonstration was held as a funeral procession for the young man who died in prison 2 weeks ago. His family accused the authorities of torturing him to death.
The demonstration coincided with the anniversary of the end of Yemen's civil war in the summer of 1994.
Our reporter Ahmed Al-Shalafi followed up on these developments.
People were killed and injured after security forces dispersed a demonstration in Al-Sada neighborhood in Khor Maksar in the southern Yemen city of Aden. People said that the demonstration was not authorized and accused the protesters of opening fire. The protesters raised black flags mourning the death of a young man in a government prison 1 week ago.
I think the police acted in a stupid way, especially during these exceptional circumstances in Yemen, and in the neighborhood of Al-Sada in particular.
Residents held the wake of Ahmed Darwish in a tent. They said that he died while being tortured in prison. However, Yemeni authorities have denied this claim. 2 weeks ago, dozens of homes were raided in Al-Sada. Yemeni authorities accuse some of the men of being al-Qaeda members and of taking part in the armed attack on the intelligence headquarters in the city of Al-Tawahi, during which 11 people were killed and many were injured.
The accusation is that Al-Qaeda members were here, but the people here are actually the sons and martyrs of freedom fighters, those who defended the Union.
After having lived through difficult conditions, the residents of Al-Sada are looking for happiness. They are demanding that those responsible for the killing of the young man be tried in court. The events coincided with the 16th anniversary of the end of the Civil War in 1994. The Southern Movement called on its supporters to commemorate this occasion. Some of the provinces, such as Al-Dalia and Al-Hajj, witnessed security tensions and arrest campaigns after the Yemeni Interior Ministry warned about what it referred to as people spreading hate and accused them of not having a license to hold the demonstration. Ahmed Al-Shalafi, Al Jazeera, Aden.
Joining us from Aden is our correspondent, Ahmed Al-Shalafi.
Ahmed, what are the latest developments regarding the clashes with the security forces?
Mohammed, first I would like to comment on the current situation. It seems that calm has been restored in the city of Aden and in the eastern and southern provinces, including the governorates of Ad-Daleh, Lahed, and Hadramaut. In the early morning, as you mentioned in the newscast, 2 people were killed in a demonstration called for by the residents of Saada and the relatives of slain Ahmed Darwish, who died in police custody and whose death is being blamed on the authorities. The Southern Movement called for a rally on July 7th to mark the 16th anniversary of the entry of Aden, or what the government refers to as the end of the separation war in the summer of 1994. The demonstrators and the Yemeni government have exchanged accusations and held each other responsible for the opening of fire, which killed 2 people and injured several others. There have been no official announcements issued by the Yemeni government. Earlier, we tried to contact the Yemeni government through the office of the Director General of Aden Security, but it seems that they were not authorized to speak publicly. We will continue to wait for an official statement. The celebration of the July 7th anniversary has fallen short of the Southern Movement's expectations. There have been reports of security breaches in the provinces of Ad-Daleh and Lahed, where several stores were closed.
An official from the Iranian Business Council in the Emirates said that the new sanctions to be imposed on Tehran are expected to be increased due to the difficulties facing Iranian companies in the Emirates, which could force some of them to close. The Emirati Foreign Ministry doubted the accuracy of the statements attributed to the United Arab Emirates ambassador to the United States, Yusuf al-Utaiba, over the possibility of striking Iran, and stated that they were taken out of context. On the other hand, the head of the Iranian Parliament's Foreign Policy Committee demanded the cancellation of tourist flights to the Emirates. The director of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, Ali Akbar Salehi, said that the sanctions will have severe consequences on his country's nuclear program, predicting that it will be slowed down. This constitutes the first Iranian admission of the danger of these international sanctions. In addition, it comes only one day after Iran's chief nuclear negotiator, Saeed Jalili, said that Tehran might resume the talks over its nuclear program with the P5+1 group on September 1st. However, these talks will hold preconditions. The media reported that Mexican authorities uncovered a plan on what was described as Hezbollah's external outposts, aimed at creating a logistics infrastructure composed of Mexican citizens with Shiite Lebanese origins in order to establish a base in South America and the United States to execute operations against Israeli and Western targets. Meanwhile, Newsweek magazine said that authorities in Paraguay arrested a Lebanese citizen who holds an American passport, charged with trying to form a cell affiliated with Hezbollah in a lawless region located between Argentina and Paraguay. A Yemeni court has sentenced the two al-Qaeda members, Mansour Saleh Dalil and Mubarak Hadi al-Shabwani, to death after convicting them of killing 8 soldiers and 1 civilian in separate confrontations. They were also accused of participating in a gang that targeted military and security officials. The verdicts against Dalil and Shabwani was based on their participation in an attack that targeted security officials in Ma'rib, and their attack on Hadramaut's chief, the head of political security, and the head of the Criminal Investigation Bureau, while they were passing through the main road in the region of Kashm al-Ain in Hadramaut.
The follow-up committee of Palestinian factions held a meeting in Ain al-Hilweh refugee camp, during which an inquiry committee was formed to investigate the incident that took place in the refugee camp yesterday, killing 1 person and injuring 2 others.
The Palestinian factions in Ain al-Hilweh refugee camp managed to restore calm following the security tension that was caused by the conflict that rose between the families of Awad and al-Hussein Monday evening. The conflict had escalated to a gunfire exchange, which led to the killing of Imad al-Sayyah, who happened to be in the area. In addition, Ahmad and Abd al-Hussein were injured. After armed forces were deployed in the area to restore calm and end the tension between the 2 families, the follow-up committee held a meeting in the camp, during which a committee was formed to investigate the incident.
The follow-up committee is in charge of finding out who the criminal is, who the murderer is, and who opened fire. We will make sure that they are arrested and handed over to the Lebanese government. The decision of the follow-up committee must be respected, and whoever opened fire must be handed over to the Lebanese government and judicial system. The Lebanese judicial system is the judge. We at the follow-up committee have continuously met to follow up on this matter to resolve the issue between the 2 families as soon as possible. God willing, the follow-up committee, the armed forces, and the PLO will all be in agreement in establishing security and stability in this refugee camp. God willing, this will be the last incident.
The follow-up committee revealed that it will continue to meet until all daily incidents are resolved and until stability is re-established in the refugee camp. A group of Palestinian students in the city of Hebron designed a car that runs on solar energy. The students who created the new automobile say it can run up to 30 kilometers per hour and can even run without direct sunlight. Our correspondent Iman Araikat has the details.
Despite their humble conditions, 3 young men from the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the Polytech University in Hebron managed to design a car powered by solar energy. They say that this car is the first of its kind in the Palestinian territories.
This project entails continuous research in order to use alternative sources of energy to replace the traditional used fuel, which is, of course, gasoline and diesel fuel. Traditional fuel is a big threat to the environment and to humans.
This car is equipped with a 2-horsepower electric engine. Its speed can reach 30 kilometers per hour. The car runs on solar energy through reflective panels that convert the absorbed energy from the sun into electricity. Then the electricity is stored in a battery inside the car and is used to start the engine. The designers of this project affirmed that their car is able to run even without direct sunlight.
We place batteries inside the car, which provide 220 watts of power in case there is no sun and during the winter. This way, the car can still run under these circumstances.
It took the graduate students 2 months to design and build this car, despite all the difficulties they faced, on top of which were the financial limitations.
The financial obstacle was the biggest problem in the development of this automobile. Thank God, we overcame these difficulties with the support of organizations, institutions, and the university. We thank them for covering some of the financial costs of the project.
The engineering committee that supervised the work of the students confirmed that this project is part of a strategy to use alternative fuel currently being adopted by the university.
In the first experiment, through a machine, we used hydrogen to split water into oxygen and hydrogen, so we used hydrogen to propel the engine. This was the first step, and thank God it was a total success. The second step was to use biofuel. Then, there were a series of other projects that used electricity to start the engine, and thank God, based on these projects, we had the outstanding project of using solar energy and also another project for hybrid cars.
For the students, this car that runs on solar energy is a big step towards catching up with the world's achievements in that field. The students named their car TMT, the initials of their names, and with it, they launched their hope that this environmentally friendly experiment will prevail in different Palestinian cities in light of the worldwide demand to protect the environment. From Hebron, Iman Erikat, BBC.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible from support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news. Read our blog. Get transcripts of past shows and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.